Blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Do want to thank everybody for being here with us and listening to our September 11th special show. We will always honor the fallen. We will never forget. That is the least that we can do. We vow never, never to forget. One thing, though, during this time of the year in September, it is the Idaho Suicide Prevention Month for the entire country. We urge people to write this number down, 208-398-4357. That is 208-398-4357. If you're depressed, seeking help, looking for someone to make a difference in your life, it doesn't cost anything, and it really will save a life, and that's what we're trying to do. We don't want to lose any more good people to suicide. Don't forget, tomorrow we are at Nampa Christian Schools. That's right, promoting our schools, securing our future, Nampa Christian High School. Want to thank them for having us there. Want to thank CapEd Credit Union, our great sponsor, along with Team Mazda Subaru for having us. What is it? I can't remember what season it is, but since 2013, we have been going to schools, 20 schools a year throughout the Treasure Valley, over 120,000 students profiled. Let's go live to Washington, D.C. Blair Ellis joining us from the RNC on KIDO Talk Radio. Blair, good to have you back.
Good morning, and thanks for letting me join you.
Well, we take a look at where we are. We've got a big debate coming up, and it's all the people that want to replace President Trump, the usual suspects. And have you noticed none of them really appear to be optimistic?
That's so true. I think if anything, we've seen them spew kind of more divisive rhetoric, and they're trying to downturn and downplay how good and how well this economy is working for all Americans. I mean, we've seen them talk government-run health, we've seen them talk taxpayer-funded health care for illegals, we've seen them talk about decriminalizing border crossings. It seems like every new debate we hear something a little bit crazier than the last. So I'm looking forward to hearing what's on tap for their wild agenda this evening.
Right, and just like you said, their overall tone is just extremely negative, it seems, and down with everything. I'm going to promise this, and this, and yet they have no plan to pay for free college for everyone, just to start with. Right, and then it's not just the free college plan. They've also got these unserious, incredibly costly climate plans that includes carbon tax, it includes shutting down coal-fueled power plants, it includes eliminating fossils. During the 7-hour-long climate debate a few weeks ago, that Democrats want to wholesale, get rid of commercial flights. They want to get rid of straws. They want to reduce the amount of red meat that Americans can consume. I mean, these are all very unserious, outlandish, crazy plans. And it's crazy to me that no one is really kind of calling them as they see it. We see Democrats just continue to really lavish these contenders with praise, when in reality, there should be some people out there, some Democrat voters out there asking, what are you actually going to do? What serious proposals and how are you going to pay for these, and how are you going to go about accomplishing these? And we're not seeing any of that right now. No, we're not. And yet the president continues to move forward, the economy rolling, and yet the press. And Blair, you know this, whether it's here on KIDO Talk Radio or the hundreds of people that you talk to daily, the press will not give this president credit for this great economy.
No, they won't. And I think we've seen, we saw initially this whole talk of a recession really started with Democrats, started with Democrat 2020 hopefuls, and then it picked up steam because the media kept talking about it, the media kept covering it. But again, the facts and the matter speak for themselves. I mean, since Trump was elected, we've seen over 6.3 million jobs created. We've seen our manufacturing sector come back booming, 500,000 jobs since he was elected, more than 1 million in 2019 alone. We've seen 6.2 million people come off food stamps. I mean, I think that's an incredible statistic. Certainly not something you're going to hear the mainstream media talk about. But we also saw that just this past week, median household income hit a new record high for the first time in 2 decades. That's incredible. And I think that goes to show that this president is working for every American, despite what the media wants you to think and despite what Democrats want you to think.
Blair, let's take a look at just what is next here as we get ready for Congress. There's possible gun legislation. There's the budget. There's the deficit. What is the Republican Congress's agenda?
It's going to be just those things. I think that the budget is going to be first and foremost on the minds of members as they start to pile back in. I think that's going to be something that you look to see, and we start seeing leaders in the Senate and Republicans in the House try and tackle first. I know there's talk of some gun legislation. I'm not certain that will and how quickly it will come to fruition, but we certainly look to our leaders on Capitol Hill to make sure that there's progress that's being made. But I absolutely think that the budget is going to be first and foremost. We of course nobody wants a government shutdown, and of course we certainly don't want Democrats to push one on us again like they have in the past. So I think those are going to be the top two items at the top of the agenda.
Boy, and then you think about just the coverage of John Bolton leaving and everything else. It just seems, again, that these people focus in on the negative.
That's right. And a lot of this stuff is just palace intrigue. I mean, I think it's the media doesn't want to talk about policies. They don't want to talk about how well the economy is doing. They don't want to talk about, how just this past week, again, the median household income or how well consumer confidence is, how high it is. And instead they want to talk about, silly things happening in D.C. and stuff that mainstream America just doesn't care about. And I think at the end of the day, we have to remember that everybody who serves at the White House serves at the pleasure of the president. And we are all at-will employees. And at the end of the day, the president's going to do what he sees fit to make sure we're taking our country in a safer, more secure direction. And we'll see who he taps as the next advisor. But, of course, leave it to the media to try and kind of keep this drumbeat going. And instead of talking about what really matters, and that's this economy and how well Americans are doing because of this president.
Sure. Blair Ellis joining us. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. I knew Walter Jones. He was a friend of mine in North Carolina. God rest his soul, dying while serving. You have these two special elections that the media thought that the Republicans couldn't win, and it was good news out of the Tar Heel state, of course, once again, underreported by the press.
That's right, and I'm a North Carolina native at heart, born and bred in North Carolina. So that was a really exciting time Tuesday night for me, at least, to see us just kind of walk away with two big wins. I think again it speaks to the president's pro-growth record, and it's really resonating with North Carolinians. North Carolina is kind of transitioned to more of a purple state over the course of the last decade or two. And I think there's something to really be said about the fact that we're turning out these big victories in a state heading into a big election. Even though Bishop was massively outspent in several polls, had him trailing in the race, the president's support, that big rally Monday night in Fayetteville, coupled with the RNC's ground game and our turnout strategy, really helped to push Bishop over the top on Election Day. So I think it speaks to the power of the president, his ability to motivate, energize people and voters. And I think it also speaks to the fact that the RNC's got one of the best ground games and the best data sets in the business. And together they are unstoppable.
Hard to believe your native state, the home of Jesse Helms, is turning purple.
It has. It's turned a little bit. It's turned more purple the last 2 decades. We've got a Democrat and as the governor right now. That both chambers of the state legislature are red, which is wonderful. But we've definitely seen kind of a groundswell of Democrat support, certain pockets that are continuing to grow, continuing to expand. But again, with the right ground game, with the right candidates, with the right message, that can be overcome.
Well, and that's the case now. What part of North Carolina for you?
Raleigh.
Well, the Triangle.
The Triangle, the good old triad.
Yeah.
But yes, we're working hard to make sure that we keep it red and turn as many states red as possible.
Yeah, no, I used to work in Raleigh, WPTF. So Wake County is a tough
one. It's a great station.
Yeah, thank you.
It is. Wake County is a tough one. There's a couple others, but we feel good. And again, everything's a lot easier when you have a president who's churning out this economy to the extent that he is, and he's producing these awesome numbers. And people, again, they just feel good. And that's not just the sentiment in North Carolina. I'm sure that's the sentiment with you, and that's the sentiment across this country when we start talking to voters. People feel better now than they did 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And it's truly a testament to this president, the promises he's made and the promises that he's kept.
Well, Blair, you are a true professional. You see, all of a sudden people in Idaho go, oh my gosh, he's going to talk about North Carolina. But thanks for keeping us on track. Finally, you've got the crazy, wacky, zany libs. They're going after the president again. We're hearing the top stories, gun laws and impeachment. We covered the gun laws. Why are they wasting the public's time and money?
I don't know. And I really think it's their strategy of just divisiveness that you so eloquently touched on kind of at the beginning of this. I think that Democrats don't have anything positive to message on. They don't have a real record of success or any results that they can run on. And so their whole agenda and their whole mission has been, let's throw these pie in the sky proposals in the air that have no reality to them. They have no worth to them, and they're never going to come to fruition. And then their other strategy is, let's divide. Let's speak down about this economy, which is a shame to me. I can't ever remember a time when people on both sides of the aisle couldn't be thrilled about the fact that this country was doing well and the people in it were doing well. But their mission is to divide. It's to speak ill about this president. It's to not show a willingness to work with him. They refuse to work with him. And then again, it's to put forth these crazy, unrealistic proposals. And I just don't see how that's going to win them anything in November of next year.
Yeah, and again, it would be nice if the press would actually tell the truth.
We're grateful, though, that we've got outlets like you, we've got stations like you and others that really help us to kind of get the word out there. And then that's been a really critical component and strategy for us at the Republican Party, is to make sure that we are talking to as many, outlets and radio stations like yourself that allow us to put the facts out there so that voters can see, plain and simple, this president, Republican-led Congress, that is the answer.
Blair, we appreciate you, and a Tar Heel born until Tar Heel dead, and I'll be a Tar Heel dead and all that stuff. I knew there was something about you we liked. Thank you very much for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Blair Ellis joining us from the RNC. Kevin Miller in the morning. Coming up next, we've seen these. Maybe you're a user. Is it time to ban e-cigarettes? We'll talk about it next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
The Trump administration announced in July that most of BLM's staff would move from Washington to Grand Junction, Colorado. Proponents say it's important for the Bureau to be in the West because 99% of its land is in the region. They say with the headquarters closer to the land it manages, the agency will make better decisions. But Arizona Democrat Raul Grijalvas says the move would make it easier for special interests to demand favors without congressional oversight. The House National Resources Committee will hold a hearing in Washington this morning. Rob Dawson, Fox News.
Thank you, Rob. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So the BLM wants to move to Colorado. We all in the West think it's a great move. And I love when they're talking about congressional oversight, the same congressional oversight that allows lobbyists or former members of Congress to make a lot of money. People get into government, I hope, not to make money. I hope that people get into money or into government to make a difference. But it is such a big money game, right? Such a big money game. And here we've had so many problems, whether it's our friend Ammon Bundy, whether it's the Hammonds, whether it's anyone with the BLM, right? We have a young man just outside of Weiser who says, Kevin Miller, I don't want you to tell people my name, but we have folks that they put up a fence right around my creek so my cattle can't drink, or right in the middle of my field. The BLM does this. Clearly there has to be a solution, and I hope that Congressman Fulcher, Senator Risch is a rancher, that we can come to some type of agreement with the BLM. Yes, the BLM should be in the West. Yes, the West should have more of a say. The problem is there are so many people east of the Great River. If you've ever traveled east of the Great River, you understand what I'm talking about. There are just so many people there. The lobby is so powerful. People east of the Great River are disposable. In the West, thankfully, there aren't that many of us, so people are more valuable. We understand the idea of commitment and loyalty. It's just not buzzwords, right? That's our hope. Other stories that we're watching, we have the mayors around the country urging for gun reform. We've been covering that pretty good. And this whole idea about vaping. A Tennis high school student rushed to the hospital after becoming sick after smoking a vape pen at school. Ariel Scott was with him when he collapsed, and this was at Tomball, Texas High School. Here is a live witness account.
They had THC in it. So she handed it to the guy. Guy took the hit. Guy passed out. So they tried to get him up. They were trying to wake him up. He was not waking up. So then the ambulance had to come. Then they took him out on a stretcher. They went ahead. They took him out.
Now, on one hand, we can say that vaping could be the next boogeyman. That vaping is the next cigarettes, that vaping possibly could replace my favorite disease, obesity, as public enemy number one. It is no laughing matter when we lose children or children at heart to something that is controllable. Now you have the Centers for Disease Control, the federal government, even President Trump himself saying we're going to start banning flavored e-cigarettes because of so many kids dying. But did you hear what that young lady said? THC was involved. You know, where does THC come from? Marijuana. How many times have, not you, the good people that agree with me, but you that disagree with me, so we'll just say you people have told me that THC is good, smoking pot is wonderful, it's harmless. Well, apparently not when you put it in an e-cigarette. With hundreds sickened and at least 6 deaths due to a mysterious lung illness, possibly linked to vaping, officials in Washington, they're not messing around. They're asking the FDA to issue a ban on flavored e-cigarettes and e-liquids. By the way, it's interesting when they say no adult in their right mind would be drawn to a flavor called Candy Unicorn. Maybe in parts of San Francisco, Portland, maybe. I don't know. Quote, we intend to clear the market of flavored e-cigarettes to reverse the deeply concerning epidemic of youth e-cigarette use that is impacting children, families, schools, and communities, according to the Health and Human Service Secretary Alex Azar on Wednesday. By the way, devil's advocate here, you could say the same thing about cigarettes. Is it time to bring back Joe Camel? Remember, he was vilified. They want to put poor Ronald McDonald in jail. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has launched an investigation into the disease outbreak while members of Congress are discussing taking action. Well, God bless the folks in Congress. They're discussing taking action, right? Kind of like that person will say, Kevin Miller, I'm going to go start working out on Monday. Which Monday, Kevin Miller? When are you going to take action, Congress? And do we really want Congress to take action? The federal agency is currently working out the policy details, but it could take several weeks to develop. So is it time to say bye-bye vaping? Well, many people say, including someone linked to this program, that got them off cigarettes. Vaping it's much, remember we heard vaping was less harmless. You have Sean Hannity saying he likes the Juul. But when you go to work, when you go somewhere else and you see the vaping, what goes on in your mind? And is it time to eliminate the vape? Of course, the vape is spending a lot of money. The vape stores. Hey, how about this? Maybe this is what we should have done. Maybe my good friend Ray Amaya or Jacob, we should have just gone into business several years ago and opened up the vape shop. And people could come in, they could vape, they could have a good time. And people were printing money when the vape shops first came up, right? Remember vape me, vape you, blah, 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 right? And now the next one, it's on every corner, CBDs. CBDs. Maybe it's time to open Kevin's House of CBDs, everybody. Look, if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. More on that in a minute. Our time is 6:27. You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave.
Now, under the ban, flavors that would be removed include mint, menthol, candy, and fruit flavors. The rise of e-cigarette use since just 2017, 2 years. 33 states reporting cases of lung illness associated with the use of e-cigarette products. 450 potential cases in all. Just this week alone, 3 Houston teens were hospitalized for vaping, while another Texas teen is on life support after switching to e-cigarettes to shake her smoking habit.
Much more coming up. Time for e-cigarettes to go bye-bye. And do you really trust the government to do the right thing? And if I'm the makers of Juul and all these other things, I'm spending millions of dollars lobbying these jabronis in Congress, and yet I'm not getting return on the investment. My personal opinion, it's all about THC, baby. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Did you know that KIDO Talk Radio is your home for Fox News on the radio? That's right, Fox News on the radio. Joining us now live from Capitol Hill, right there in Washington, D.C., our great friend Rachel Sutherland. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, Kevin.
How's the weather here? It's still a little dark. It's in the upper 50s here. So how's the weather in D.C. right now?
It was really hot yesterday. It was chilly when I left the house this morning, but I don't have the full weather forecast in front of me.
No, I'm with you.
We'll start.
You're a little humid, baby.
We'll start getting into fall weather here soon in D.C., but September's actually beautiful here. It usually doesn't really get cold till around November.
Well, by the way, I'll be up in a couple weeks. Hopefully we can catch up. Yeah, that would be great. Once again, I
love that.
I'll go through the right channels, I promise.
Boy, you have a memory that's long.
That's all I have, really, Rachel. Anyway, here we go. Congress is back in session. Rachel is back to work, and we have the House Judiciary Committee voting on a resolution of rules of impeachment and investigation. What does this all mean?
Well, that's the question. That's what they're hashing out right now. In fact, the House Judiciary Chair Jerry Nadler just gave his opening statement saying there should be no doubt about their purpose. He says they've been open about the plans in the committee for many months. Ranking Member Doug Collins says, "Welcome to Fantasy Island. We're here," basically saying that this is all for show and it's all just for procedures. And what this is, Kevin, the hearing's designed to set parameters for an impeachment inquiry related to alleged obstruction of justice. So it's just the first little step and not really the Democrats on the committee and throughout the House are not in agreement about all this. We all know that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has been saying for months she's not in favor of impeachment. But Jerry Nadler moving forward with this, it would allow him to determine if various hearings are part of an impeachment investigation, allows counsel to question witnesses at those hearings, gives committee access to documents in executive session, and also gives the president time to pose questions and to respond to what's coming up at these hearings. So it's unclear yet exactly whether or not they're going to pass this resolution, because obviously all Republicans on the committee are against it, and even some, I don't have a head count of the Democrats on the committee, but certainly impeachment is kind of the third rail of politics right now. A lot of these people are up for re-election in 2020.
Right, and already we've seen that. What about the fallout of what happened in North Carolina in that congressional race, those two races? Anything resonating in D.C. on that level?
Well, the president's saying it's a great victory for these two with Dan Bishop prevailing in this one key race over Dan McCready, the Democrat there, who tried to run as a centrist.
Yeah.
But it was, I guess, a pretty close election, and McCready ran for more than 2 years. There were allegations of voter fraud that had that thrown out of the 9th Congressional District. But Dan Bishop will come to Washington and serve, and the president saying that this, is an indicator of things to come, because really this election was close in a district that it should not have been. But the president's still seeing it as a big victory for him. He actually, as I mentioned, went and campaigned for Dan Bishop on the eve of the election, which may have helped put him over the top and shows that the president still has a lot of support in the South.
Well, and, one of them, the district was one of the departed, a good friend of mine, Walter Jones, the man who labeled the term freedom fries back in the day.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about freedom fries. That was... Yeah, no, we're still eating our French fries over here.
Yeah. Rachel, look forward to catching up with you every day, and hopefully we'll see you in Washington. Thank you, ma'am.
Great.
All right, Rachel Sutherland. From her to Tom Munns, who is back on the radio. Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Kevin. How you doing?
We're on the right side, and you?
Oops, hang on a sec. Horrible. I'm not using my normal stuff. I wanted to call this morning and talk to you about the federal government's ability to be able to ban. And, you used to call me One Tune Tom, didn't you?
Yeah, 1-2 Tom.
Well, I would beg to ask that maybe.
Now, Tom, you know the rules here. You got to hit the ground running. This is the first time you seem discombobulated. There are a lot of people depending on us for news and information, and we need Tom hitting the ground. You've got a reputation here that you might be falling a little in the power rankings here. What's going on? Do you need a a cup of coffee or something?
No, I'm actually in Idaho Falls. It's under 50 degrees, and I'm using my phone app to call in for the first time instead of using local radio. So that's why. So, okay, so we've got this issue with the e-cigarettes, right? The federal government wants to ban e-cigarettes, and somehow it believes it has the authority. If it does this, then the citizens in the states have allowed the federal government to have the authority that it otherwise doesn't have. And this is why the one tune that I've always been preaching has been so important, at least to me, because I like my freedom. And the problem is that the people love to complain about the government, but apparently they don't know how to hold the government accountable. So what everybody needs to do is they communicate with their local legislators and opinion holders, and then they reach out to their congressmen and they tell them under no circumstance are we going to do this. And then we have to be able to tell them if they end up trying to ban e-cigarettes that the federal government doesn't have the authority to do that. Now, I would submit if the state has the authority to ban anything, then the states are going to have to be then the contention is going to be between the citizens of the state and the state government. But that's really no surprise because throughout history, government has always enslaved the people, and it's never been vice versa. So if contention needs to be, let it be lawful and let it be operable and let people be able to exercise their freedom and become empowered by the decisions that they make, saying, you know what, this is garbage.
So we should let the people continue to consume this alleged poison. You know, your argument is very similar to the libertarians. And hold on, to a degree, Dave Petzo, where we were always talking about how bad the government is. I go, well, the government has the FAA. What should we do? Well, if a plane crashes, we just don't fly that airline. Now, I want someone watching the planes.
We're not saying that the FAA is not something that is useful and not something lawful.
That's the government, Tom.
Well, I'm not anti-government, Kevin, and this is the problem. Every time somebody rebukes something that somebody does, somehow you're anti-something.
You just said we're enslaved by the government, Tom.
We are, but you are pigeonholing me or attempting to pigeonhole me in a box to be able to make everything I say that opposes government anti-government when I am trying to, and I have been as long as I've been on the radio, let people understand that the government operates lawfully within its certain limited, few, and defined powers. And when you allow the camel's nose under the tent and you say, well, the government should be able to ban it for the safe and healthy of people, then there's nothing that the government can't do to be able to fully take control over the people. And this is where the danger comes from. Because if we can allow them to be able to do even the most minute detail, we can make a generality and say, you know, we need to off about 75% of the population because there's way too much CO2. So the idea that somebody's trying to pigeonhole me or people try to pigeonhole me when I question the authority of the government and make it where I'm anti-government, that's where I get a little bit offended because there's nothing further from the truth.
I'm just taking you at your word.
Well, you wanted me to hit the ground running. So
you did. You came back with the heat, brother. I'm gonna go cower now. Thank you.
Well, it's a little cold out here, and I'm a little bit out of my element, so I apologize, everybody.
You know, everybody. Anyway, Tom Munz, TomMunz.com. Great to have you back on the radio.
You too, buddy. It's great to be back, and thanks for allowing me to rant.
Oh, we love you.
Talk to you next time.
All right, take care, Tom.
Okay, bye.
All right, Tom Munz in Idaho Falls. Idaho Falls, Tom Munz on the road with the John Birch Society, doing the people's good work. You know, the other day we were talking about guns and ammunition and everything else. And, you know, what will they think of next? Banning the Second Amendment, banning people from open carrying. And I want to share with you an email that someone sent to me. We didn't have time for it then. Hey, Kevin, I had to write you regarding private businesses banning open carry. First, it was Walmart, and the worst with the CEO not only banning carry, but also advocating for Congress to ban semi-automatic rifles. And then Kroger/Fred Meyer, no carry. Then CVS, then Walgreens, and finally now Albertsons. They do this all in the name of public safety. Do they also advocate to stop selling alcohol and prescription drugs so as to stop drunk driving and overdoses? And let me just add this to this email, or cigarettes or e-cigarettes for that matter. Or are those profits A-OK? Hypocritical much? So Do we have nowhere to shop in the Treasure Valley? A refuge for sensible patriots where we aren't supporting the fight against us. I absolutely refuse to ever set foot into a Walmart ever again over the CEO's request. I told Kroger they lost my dollars, and now with Albertsons, there's nothing left in the Treasure Valley. This is an undeniable war against our rights perpetrated by private entities and the paranoid and delusional left. How do you recommend we proceed? God bless you, Kevin Miller, a sensible trained patriot without so much as a parking ticket on my record. Well, this might be another business opportunity to open up a gun-friendly grocery store. We would have to originally start in Meridian, so folks in Nampa and Caldwell, it'd have to be near the highway. Well, how about the old Rosars? That's an idea. We could open up the old Rosars, call it Gunnies, and at Gunnies, you can shop with your automatic rifles. At Gunnies, you can shop with your magazines, 30, 40, 50, whatever, clips, and do whatever you want. We could, maybe our friends at Independence Indoor Shooting could open up a grocery store along with their massive store. That's the solution, I think. Let's get back to this idea of banning the e-cigarettes, number one. Number two, this issue at 580-5436, 580-KIDO of where is the Second Amendment welcome? Not only in Idaho, but America. Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. And coming up, one state, it won't take tough for you to guess this, has signed an order banning schools from suspending disruptive kids. Oh, my. Joining us now, the original Safer Money specialist, the host of the Safer Money Solutions radio show, Saturdays 2 to 3, Ronnie G. Ron Grant with us. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, guys. How are we doing today?
We are excited to talk about how to keep your money safe. Too good to be true or right on time?
No, it's right on target. It's been around for a long time, and back in 08 and 09 when the market tanked almost 50%, my clients and we got a zero. Of course, a zero is always better than a loss. Make sure you tune in this Saturday. We're going to talk about why safety is so important for today's retirement. You work so hard for that money, and you don't want to lose it in the Wall Street casino. I was just reading online before we got on with you. Trump has put a hold on the tariffs, so now the market's up. But if he says the tariffs are on, the market's down. Why risk what you work so hard for, up and down, up and down? It doesn't make sense. So make sure you tune in Saturday from 2 to 3. We're going to talk about how to keep that money safe. We're also going to talk about how you can have a guaranteed lifetime income that you can't outlive. Wall Street cannot provide that for you. We're going to show you how to stop paying those pesky fees you're paying to your financial planner, your stockbroker, your 401k company. Remember, when you pay those fees, ladies and gentlemen, it eats up your returns.
You don't want to do that, especially it is so disconcerting, Ron, when you can hear just a blip or a tweet, and all of a sudden the market overreacts and you're impacted, not in a good way either.
Yeah, and that's why we sleep at night. We knowing that our money's safe and protected. And I've been doing this a long time. I've helped a lot of people for many, many years keep that safe. My money's safe, and I can put my money anywhere. So make sure you tune in Saturday. And give me a call if you'd like some more information. It's 208-660-1372. We'll sit down. I'll help you. I need about 25 minutes of your time. I'll show you how to keep it safer.
Ron Grant, one more time, your phone number if people want to call you right now.
208-660-1372. And remember, we're going to be live on Saturday to take your calls.
Looking forward to that 2 to 3. Ron Grant, thank you for waking up so early with us.
Hey, buddy, it's a pleasure. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. Ron Grant joining us here. Let's go to Brian in Nampa with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Brian, good morning.
Hey, Kevin. Bi-Mart.
What about Bi-Mart?
They sell ammo. I haven't bought ammo from Walmart for probably 2006, 2007. I buy it from Bi-Mart. Nice little, owned by the employee. A lot of old people go there. A lot of people here. I saw a guy go in there when he was buying 5.56 ammo the other day, and so was I. And I told him he had a nice West tip. He says, "How many ARs got?" And I said, 2. And he's like, "Good man, have a good day." That's Bi-Mart. A little bit of the stupidity of Walmart. They want
Well,
something
it's
else.
not just Walmart, but it's all these places. And this is something that we should debate at maybe now or another time. Do these organizations have the right to do this? Or are they sending a message? I mean, they're a private organization, but does that mean they're exempt from the Constitution?
And remember what I told you? I used to live in North Carolina and South Carolina, and when you had a concealed weapons permit, basically what it was a way for them to limit you from carrying anywhere. And I warned Idaho about that. Remember me calling in a while? That's been a while ago.
I remember you talking about it
North-
several times, warning us. Yes.
Yeah, that's where we're at, and it's coming here to Idaho. They're trying to limit it. But just a point, Kevin, if you had to get shot, would you rather get shot by a 5.56, a handgun, or a 308 or an .06?
Dealer's choice, I guess.
Well, if I had to pick, I'd much rather get shot by a handgun or AR-15 than a .06 or a 308, a hunting round. And the reason is the grains of the bullet weigh more, and it's going just as fast, if not faster, than a 5.56. And this is the liberal mentality. They don't understand anything about what they're talking about when it comes to ammunition. There's a reason we hunt elk with 308, .06, and 300 Win Mag. They're 700 to 800 pound animals, and it takes a lot of weight to put an animal like that down. Think about that for a second. It's like getting hit with the semi versus getting hit by a motorcycle. Neither one's pleasant, but I think the semi is a little bit worse. That's their mentality. I mean, the .06 is what we used in World War II in the M1 Garand. It doesn't matter if it's a bolt action or a semi-auto. It's a bigger bullet. It carries more kinetic energy on impact. They're still selling those. Wow. What a important message they're sending to the public. It's just stupidity. There's an agenda. Somebody's pushing. That's what's going on. Any questions for me, Kevin?
Brian, I think you covered it, brother. Thank you.
You have a good day.
You as well. Thank you, Brian. God bless.
Bye.
Traffic and weather together. Our time is 6:57 with Kevin Miller in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. So if you're familiar with the grocery store Publix, those of you that have been in the American South or those in the American South that listen to our program on the KIDO Talk Radio app, we do have a lot of folks that do not live in Idaho, whether it's in New Hampshire, whether it's in Ohio or Pennsylvania, California, Texas, Nevada, wherever. And you do listen to us on the KIDO Talk Radio app, maybe a lot of people in Alabama. Publix Supermarket now has said no guns in the stores. They've done it a little sneaky, saying they request only law enforcement officials open carry. Everybody else, keep your guns at homes. Thank you, Publix. More coming up. Fox News. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.